White Fox Studio might not be the most famous name among anime fans, but that doesn't mean they haven't created some amazing works. Lately, they've been making a lot more of isekai and fantasy themed anime, but their library are actually a lot more than that, many of which have been loved and praised across the anime community. The studio was founded in 2007 by Gaku Iwasa, who had previously worked at Studio OLM and contributed to anime like Pokemon Side Story, Comic Party, and Utawarerumono. In 2007, Iwasa decided to leave the Studio OLM along with the main staff from Utawarerumono to start a brand new anime studio. This marked the beginning of a journey that would produce some truly captivating and memorable works for anime fans everywhere. So, let's take a look at the evolutions of White Fox Studios' animation works. White Fox made its debut in the anime industry with Tears to Tiara, an adaptation of a visual novel RPG that was first released on Windows in 2005. Directed by Tomoki Kobayashi, this adaptation was planned after the game's PS3 port had been confirmed. The story is set in a fantasy world inspired by Celtic and Roman mythology, where tribes resisting conquest clash with a rising empire aiming to dominate everything. It blends medieval European aesthetic with mythical elements, demons, magics, gods, and prophecies. Tears to Tiara earned a solid reputation among viewers. As White Fox's first anime, it can be considered a strong adaptation. The animation quality is much better than people expected, clean, consistent, and with battle scenes that are occasionally quite decent. While it's not as polished as some of their later works, the series managed to establish White Fox as a new studio with a solid foundation. Among anime fans, Tears to Tiara remains somewhat of a niche title. It's not widely known in Japan or internationally, but for White Fox, it carries a legacy as the anime that marked the beginning of their journey as a studio. About a year after their debut in the anime industry, White Fox released their second anime in 2010, a series that stood out not just for its story, but for its unique art style and visuals. Katanagatari is an adaptation of a novel by Nishio Ishin, the author who also known for the Monogatari series. Despite the similar naming, Katanagatari has no connections whatsoever to Monogatari. The story follows Shichika Yasuri, a swordsman who doesn't actually use a sword. He practices a martial art called Kyotoryu, which turns the body itself into a weapon. One day, he is approached by Togame, an ambitious military strategist working for the shogun. She asks Shichika to help collect the 12 legendary swords created by famous swordsmith Shikizaki Kiki. Together, they embark on a long journey across Japan, facing powerful fighters, each guarding one of the unique swords. While the Monogatari series is known for dense dialogue and heavy metaphor, Katanagatari is cleaner in that regard, though the dialogue still carries Nishio Ishin style. For many, this is one of his most accessible and emotionally resonant works. Beyond the story, what really stands out in this anime is its art style. The character designs are distinctive with bright colors, simple shapes, and a look that was unlike anything else in 2010 and remains rare even today. It's considered one of the most visually unique anime of all time. Another unusual aspect of Katanagatari is its release format. While most anime release weekly episodes of about 20 minutes, Katanagatari episodes are around 50 minutes each and released monthly. Producer Toba Hironori explained that this approach was intended to replicate the experience of reading the original light novels, which were also published once a month. Receiving positive reviews from viewers, the anime faced challenges before its release. According to an article in JCast News, White Fox announced that confidential production documents had been leaked. The leaked files included storyboards, setting materials, character designs, script, and more. White Fox president Gaku Iwasa stated that around the early morning of January 4, about 20 days before the anime's premiere, a hacking incident on the company's FTP server allowed a third party to access and steal these documents. In response, White Fox issued an apology to all parties involved, including partner companies and fans eagerly awaiting the anime. Despite the incident, Katanagatari became a success and drew significant attention, especially in Japan. This success would only mark the beginning of White Fox's rise in the anime industry. Steins Gate is widely praised and often called one of the best anime ever made. For White Fox, that's still a relatively new studio, it was proof that they deserved serious attention. Adapted from a visual novel by 5PB and Nitro Plus, Steins Gate, which was already popular among Japanese otaku, the project was a major challenge. But just as they had turned Katanagatari into a fan favorite, White Fox successfully adapted Steins Gate and boosted its popularity even further. Thanks to the anime, Steins Gate reached audiences outside Japan, becoming a breakout hit for the studio. Its success also paved the way for the official English release of the visual novel in 2014. The story follows a group of young people in Akihabara who accidentally discover a way to send messages to the past. They soon realize that even small changes can disrupt the timeline and lead to tragic consequences. The protagonist Akame must fight against fate and a powerful organization targeting the time machine technology to protect the people closest to him. The anime adaptation was first announced by Chiyomaru Shikura in 2010, covering the original story all the way to its true ending. Adapting a visual novel with multiple endings is never easy, but White Fox approached it with dedication. Directors Hiroshi Hamasaki and Takuya Sato reportedly completed the game 6 times to fully understand the story's complexity, allowing them to create a satisfying adaptation. In terms of animation, Steins Gate isn't flashy, but it doesn't need to be. The focus is on long dialogues, subtle facial expressions, eye movements, and small gestures that emphasize psychological drama. Japanese fans praised the animation for being clean and consistent, even if it wasn't as mind-blowing as other big studios. What really stood out was the story directions and consistent visual atmosphere. Many fans even felt the simpler animations suited the series perfectly, since the heart of Steins Gate is its plot and characters. Overall, Steins Gate became a defining work for White Fox, bringing the studio recognitions not just in Japan but internationally. Still in the visual novel realm, White Fox then took on a different project. Instead of adapting a full game to anime, they produced the opening animation for Rewrite, a game developed by Key Visual Arts. White Fox created the second opening animation, which is unlocked after completing at least one route in the story. Compared to the first opening, the second has a darker and more serious tone. This project marked White Fox's first work outside of full anime series, expanding their creative works beyond standard anime adaptation. In 2012, we saw White Fox trying something new, adapting a manga into an anime for the first time. Jormungand is adapted from a manga by Takahashi Keitaro. The anime was announced after the manga had reached its 10th volume and was nearing the end of its story. The series follows Coco, a young arms dealer traveling the world selling weapons alongside her elite teams of bodyguards. Among them is Yona, a former child soldier who ironically hates war but finds himself caught up in Coco's business. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that Coco has a grand plan called Project Jormungand, a radical project aimed at ending all wars, though through extremely dangerous and controversial means. The adaptation is solid and stays faithful to the manga. However, compared to White Fox's previous works, Jormungand didn't receive so much attention or widespread success. Still, the anime managed to gain a cult following, offering a story that viewers could enjoy. Jormungand was released across 2 seasons in the same year, with the second season airing at the end of 2012. White Fox Studios struck success again with the release of The Devil is a Part-Timer, an anime adapted from the light novel by Wagahara Satoshi. The story follows Demon King Shadow Mao, who nearly conquers the fantasy world of Ente Isla, only to be defeated by the hero Emilia Justina. Forced to flee, Mao and his general Alciel escape through a portal and end up in a modern-day Tokyo, Japan. In this world, magic is almost unusable, so they have to live like an ordinary humans. In today's terms, this genre would be called reverse isekai. Instead of a modern person being transported to a fantasy world, its fantasy characters ending up in the real world. At the time, this concept was unique even before isekai itself became hugely popular. The anime's unique premise likely contributed to its success and widespread love. White Fox kept the animation consistent, solid action scenes, and a lot of funny moments. The Devil is a Part-Timer is considered one of the top-tier anime produced by the studio. One of White Fox Studios' most unique projects is the DPR special movie. This special film was created by JAXA as an educational and public outreach material, using anime to introduce DPR. The device is installed on the GPM satellite, a collaboration between JAXA and NASA. Through animated characters, viewers follow the journey of how DPR radar was built, tested, launched, and how it can see rain and snow from space. The story emphasizes that DPR helps humanity better understand global precipitation patterns, which is essential for weather forecasting, disaster management, and climate research. Animation like this makes complex science accessible to the general public, raising awareness about space projects, weather, and their impact on daily life. 2013 also marked White Fox's first foray into the big screen with a sequel for Steins Gate, Steins Gate Loading Area of Déjà Vu. Unlike the previous adaptations, this film is an original story, written by Hanada Yuki and directed by Kanji Wakabayashi. The film is set 1 year after the end of the Steins Gate anime, when Okabe Rintaro successfully reaches the Steins Gate world line. The story focuses more on Makise Kurisu than Okabe as the protagonist. The movie is considered an emotional epilogue to the Steins Gate. Many fans praised the clarity it brought to Okabe and Kurisu's romantic relationship, while some felt the story wasn't as strong as the main series. 2014 turned out to be White Fox's most productive year so far, as they released 3 anime series and 1 special. The first anime was SoniAni Super Sonico the Animation, created to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Nitro Plus mascot Super Sonico. Originally introduced in 2006 during Nitro Plus annual music event Nitro Supersonic, Super Sonico quickly became popular, eventually expanding into figures, manga, games, and even a band. The anime was part of an effort to bring the characters into more media. The series consists of 12 episodes featuring light slice-of-life storytelling with comedy and music. It follows Sonico as she balances college life, work, band activities, and modeling. There's no grand dramatic plot, the focus is on warm, colorful glimpses of her everyday life. Still within the slice-of-life genre, the next anime released that year was Gochumon wa Usagi desu ka, adapted from Yonkoma manga by Koi, serialized in Kirara magazine. The story centers on Kokoa Hoto, a cheerful girl who moves to a new town for school. She lives at a cafe called Rabbit House, where she meets Cappuccino and others. Like most moe slice-of-life anime, the series has no major conflicts. Its focus is on the girl's daily life, warm friendship, and light-hearted humor. Moe slice of life is a popular genre in Japan, and while Gochumon wa Usagi desu ka may not be as famous as other Kirara anime like Keon or Yuru Camp, it was still very successful. The merchandise sold well, and the series had numerous events and collaborations. White Fox also returned to the Steins Gate universe with the special Steins Gate Sōmei Eichi no Cognitive Computing. This 4-episode series was a collaboration between Steins Gate and IBM Japan, aimed at promoting IBM's cognitive computing technology in a light and entertaining way. Each episode features interactions between the Steins Gate characters and a cognitive computing system named UPA. White Fox hit another success with Akame ga Kill, adapted from the manga by Takahiro and Tetsuya Tashiro. This dark fantasy anime follows Tatsumi, a young villager who travels to the capital to help his impoverished village. He quickly discovers the deep-rooted corruptions in the kingdom. Tatsumi meets Night Raid, a group of assassins opposing the corrupt governments, and joins them to fight tyranny and protect the people. Akame ga Kill is White Fox's most action-heavy anime to date, with solid animation that was generally well received. However, the story received frequent criticism. Many viewers felt the plot was rushed and underdeveloped. After episode 19, the anime diverged from the manga and created an original story, which disappointed many fans. This decision was necessary as the manga was still ongoing at the time and only concluded in 2017, 3 years after the anime. Still, despite the criticism, Akame ga Kill was a success. It gained significant popularity in Japan and abroad, boosting manga sales as viewers sought the original story. In 2015, White Fox returned with the second season of Gochumon wa Usagi desu ka, but this time they weren't working alone. They collaborated with Kinema Citrus for a few episodes. The seasons continued to follow the daily life of Cappuccino and her friends, offering more light-hearted slice-of-life moments, fun interactions, and further developing the bonds of friendship among characters. As a studio that originally started with staff who were key contributors to the Utawarerumono games and anime, it's no surprise when White Fox took on the sequel animations for the series. At the beginning of 2015, the video game sequel titled Utawarerumono Mask of Deceptions was released, and White Fox handled the animation for its opening sequence. Not only that, they also made the anime adaptations, which also released this year. The story focuses on a mysterious man named Hakuoro, who has lost his memory. He wakes up in a village inhabited by humans with masks or animal-like features and begins to form connections with the villagers while navigating political conflicts and war. The anime stays fairly faithful to the game's story, though some war and political scenes were condensed and minor character subplot were removed or merged for pacing. The animation quality was quite high for 2015 anime, especially in battle sequences. 2015 also saw the release of Steins Gate Zero visual novel. Before the main release, White Fox put out a special animation called Steins Gate Open the Missing Link, which served as the introduction and premise for the Steins Gate Zero visual novel. Of course, White Fox would go on to adapt Steins Gate Zero into an anime, but before that, 2016 was a big year for White Fox, marked by the release of Re:Zero, an isekai fantasy anime adapted from the light novel by Nagatsuki Tappei. Since 2013, isekai anime and light novel adaptations had been rising in popularity, with Sword Art Online paving the way for the genre. Producer Sho Tanaka from Kadokawa, who had already produced two hugely popular isekai anime, No Game No Life and Overlord, was looking for another promising light novel to adapt. That's when he discovered Re:Zero. Originally appeared on the free web novel platform Shousetsukan Naru, a popular Japanese website that also produced other famous titles like Mushoku Tensei and Konosuba. Due to its popularity, Kadokawa began publishing it as an official light novel in January 2014 with illustrations by Otsuka Shinichiro. Re:Zero follows an ordinary teenager, Natsuki Subaru, who is suddenly transported to a fantasy world without warning. He quickly discovers a unique ability, Return by Death, which allows him to go back to a specific point in time every time he dies, trapped in a painful cycle of death. What sets Re:Zero apart from other isekai of the time is that it isn't a typical power fantasy. Subaru doesn't gain superpowers or become a hero in the new world. His only ability is more of a curse than a blessing. He experiences the pain of every death and carries its psychological trauma. Instead of enjoying exciting adventures or being overpowered like many isekai protagonists, Subaru faces repeated suffering, failure, and dead ends. Re:Zero emphasizes character development and emotional drama rather than actions. Its dark, brutal, and psychological tone makes it feel more like a tragic thriller than typical fantasy, offering a very different experience from other isekai series. This unique storytelling is likely why Sho Tanaka chose White Fox to adapt Re:Zero, given their prior success with Steins Gate, which also featured time leap elements and a protagonist facing intense psychological trauma. Re:Zero became a massive hit, frequently discussed in 2016 both in Japan and internationally. Iconic moments like in episode 15 to 18 went viral in the anime communities. The merchandise was highly successful, and the series is often considered one of the best isekai anime of all time, even introducing many new viewers to the genre. After proving their skill in adapting stories from various media like visual novels, manga, or light novels, White Fox made their first original anime debut in 2016 with Matoi the Sacred Slayer. Written by Yosuke Kuroda, an experienced screenwriter known for Mobile Suit Gundam and Trigun. The story follows a middle school girl, Matoi Sumeragi, who wants a quiet, normal life with her father. However, when she assists her friend Yuma Kusanagi in a spirit summoning ritual at Yuma's family shrine, Matoi is chosen by divine power. She gains the ability to transform into an exorcist to fight evil creatures from another world called nightmares. Matoi the Sacred Slayers blend magical girls element with exorcism, creating a unique twist on the genre. It also incorporates slice of life moments and family drama. Unfortunately, the anime didn't explode in popularity compared to other White Fox titles. Many viewers found the premise interesting but felt the execution was standard among magical girl anime. While the combinations of magical girl themes and a Shinto-style exorcism was quite unique, the story felt rushed and the villains lacked strong character development. Still, the series remains an important milestone as White Fox's first original anime. Continuing their work with Utawarerumono franchise, White Fox created the opening animation for the game Utawarerumono Mask of Truth. The animation showed noticeable upgrades from the previous opening while preserving the usual style of Utawarerumono. In 2017, White Fox returned to adapting fantasy light novels with Grimoire of Zero, a story written by Kobashiri Kakeru. The story follows a mercenary beast fallen, a half-human, a half-beast, being cursed and despised by society, who accidentally meets a brilliant witch named Zero. Zero is the author of the legendary spellbook Grimoire of Zero, a dangerous book that has been stolen and holds the power to change the world. Grimoire of Zero features solid and consistent animations, but it wasn't spectacular. Released during the height of the isekai and fantasy boom, it didn't particularly stand out and gradually faded from attention. The standout anime for White Fox that year was Girls Last Tour, adapted from the manga by Tsukumizu. In Japan, there's a genre called Iyashiki, a genre that designed to soothe, calm, and heal viewers' heart. Few examples of famous Iyashiki titles include Aria the Animations, Yuru Camp, and Non Non Byori. White Fox also was already familiar with this genre through Gochumon wa Usagi desu ka, which had proven popular enough to receive 2 seasons. And then came Girls Last Tour that takes the Iyashiki concept in a very unique direction. While it maintains a calm and peaceful tone, it is set in a post-apocalyptic world ravaged by a great war. The story follows 2 young girls, Chito and Yuri, traveling in a small vehicle across the ruins of abandoned cities and landscapes. They are not on a quest to save the world, instead they struggle to survive, finding food, fuel, and shelter while reflecting on life, existence, and the meaning of happiness in a destroyed world. The contrast between tranquility and devastations made the anime a focal point for the slice of life fans in 2017. While it wasn't widely popular due to the competitions from other series, Girls Last Tour became a hidden gem and considered one of White Fox's most unique works. 2017 wasn't just about anime series. White Fox also collaborated with Sakura Internet, a Japanese web hosting and internet services company, to celebrate their 20th anniversary. Together, they produced a short 4-minute animation. The anime explored themes of rebirth, change, and personal challenges. The characters navigate moments where they realize that their current life aren't enough, facing internal conflicts between security and routine versus personal fulfillment and dreams. 2018 was an extremely productive year for White Fox, as they didn't just release anime series but also movies, specials, and even contributions to a video game. On top of that, they played a crucial role on the formations of a new anime studio that captured the attentions of many anime fans. Let's start with Steins Gate Zero, a new entry in the Steins Gate franchise, adapted once again from the visual novel developed by 5PB and Nitroplus. Production for this anime had already begun in 2015 when White Fox released a special intended to bridge the story between the original Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero. Steins Gate Zero is not simply a direct continuation of the story. It is an alternate sequel taking place in a timeline where Okabe Rintaro fails to reach the Steins Gate world line before the ending of the original series. This is why the bridging special placed between episode 23 and 24 was necessary. Because the story occurs after Okabe's failure, the anime feels more depressive and sorrowful. Viewers are shown a side of him that has surrendered to fate, vastly different from the energetic and eccentric Okabe of the original series. The atmosphere is darker, with muted visuals and melancholic music emphasizing the emotional wounds he carries. Although some feel that watching Steins Gate Zero is unnecessary due to the brilliance of the original endings, others consider it essential to truly understand Okabe's struggle. The anime showcases his humanity as he lives with regret and trauma. Steins Gate Zero is not merely an add-on, it is a crucial puzzle piece that completes the full pictures of the world and its character. Still in the Steins Gate universe, 2018 also saw the release of Steins Gate Elite, a remake of the original visual novel. Unlike the original, which relied on static CG for scene illustrations, Steins Gate Elite replaced nearly all visuals with full animation from the 2011 anime adaptations, along with new scenes created by White Fox to make the story more complete. This innovation allowed the visual novel to be experienced in an interactive anime format, making the visuals feel much more alive. Some longtime fans argued that the dark and mysterious atmosphere of the original static CG was stronger than in the animated versions, but overall, Steins Gate Elite was positively received and provided a fresh way for new players to enjoy a classic story. In 2018, they also released Goblin Slayer, dark fantasy anime adapted from the light novel by Kaguya-Kumo. The story follows a mysterious adventurer known only as Goblin Slayer, whose sole purpose is to exterminate every goblin. Unlike other adventurers seeking fame or treasure, Goblin Slayer's missions is singular. The anime is known for its dark and realistic atmosphere. Unlike most light-hearted isekai or fantasy series, Goblin Slayer emphasizes the brutal nature of an RPG world, where even the smallest mistake can mean death. The sheer violence of the goblins drew significant attentions, especially among Western audiences. Its first episode sparked controversy due to extreme violence, including graphic sexual assault by goblins, shocking some viewers and prompting accusations of exploitation. Nevertheless, Goblin Slayer was regarded as a success, boosting both the light novel and manga sales after the anime aired. 2018 also saw the release of two movies, Peacemaker Kurogane Part 1 Belief and Part 2 Friend. Both films served as a sequel to the 2003 anime series Peacemaker Kurogane, produced by Studio Gonzo more than a decade earlier. Peacemaker was adapted from the manga by Nanae Chrono, originally published in 1999. Set in the late Bakumatsu period, it follows Ichimura Tetsunosuke, a young man who joins the Shinsegumi to avenge his parents' death. White Fox adapted the continuations directly after the original anime, completing the final arc of the story. Reviving this series was an interesting decision, especially since the manga had already concluded well before the first anime aired, yet the decision was warmly welcomed by fans. White Fox also released two anime specials from their beloved IPs. The first, ReZero Memories No, was screened in Japanese theaters at the end of 2018. The story takes place in the middle of Season 1 and is an original story, written by Masahiro Yokotani under the supervisions of original author Nagatsuki Tappei. The special is lighthearted, full of comedy, romance, and slice-of-life moments set in the Roswell's mansion, providing a refreshing break while deepening character interactions, particularly between Subaru and Emilia. The second special is Utawarerumono Tsukuru Kojo no Kare Naru Hibi. It's a spin-off released as part of the premium editions of the remake of the first Utawarerumono game. The story leans more toward fan service comedy, offering longtime fans a glimpse of their favorite characters in a lighter, humorous settings. Perhaps the most significant event for White Fox in 2018 was the collaboration with Eggworm, a company often involved in production comedies and financial support for anime projects. Eggworm has a plan to create a project that allowed a studio to focus entirely on visual quality and animation consistency, dedicating all resources to one major title over the long term. To realize this project, Eggworm partnered with White Fox for technical support, production management, and studio expertise. The result was the formation of Studio Bind, which debuted with Mushoku Tensei, an anime that widely regarded as one of the best isekai ever made. Personally, this is what amazed me the most while working on this video, which is the fact that White Fox played a crucial role in the birth of the two biggest isekai anime ever made. 2019 was a busy year for White Fox as they released 3 isekai anime. The first one was an adaptation of Shirokame Ryo's light novel Arifureta Shokugyo de Sekai Saikyo, commonly called Arifureta. This was the first time White Fox tackled a power fantasy isekai. The story follows Nagumo Hajime, a regular high school student who, along with his classmates, is suddenly summoned to another world as a hero. While his classmates get amazing powers, Hajime is stuck with a supposedly weak and useless alchemy skill. Things take a turn during a dungeon expedition when Hajime is betrayed by a classmate and falls into the dungeon's deepest abyss. In a desperate bid to survive, he eats monster flesh, transforming his body and gaining incredible new powers. Despite its exciting premise, Arifureta didn't sit well with many fans, especially hardcore isekai viewers. People criticized it for straying from the original novel, inconsistent animation, and low-quality CGI monsters. Still, it was commercially successful enough to spawn a second season and even third season, although White Fox didn't produce those sequels. In the same year, White Fox released another power fantasy isekai, Kono Yusha ga ore tsue kuseni shincho sugiru. Known internationally as Cautious Hero, the hero is overpowered but overly cautious, adapted from the light novel by Tuchichi. The story is about a goddess named Rista who is tasked with summoning a hero to save the world under a threat from the Demon King. She brings Seiya Ryuguin, Japanese guy with stats far beyond any other hero. But unlike any other heroes, Seiya is obsessively cautious in everything he does. Unlike Arifureta, which is serious and edgy, Cautious Hero is a playful parody. Seiya's over-the-top caution constantly leads to hilarious situations. Also, unlike Arifureta, which got flack from hardcore isekai fans, Cautious Hero was warmly welcomed, with many calling it one of the funniest anime of the year. White Fox also released a ReZero anime special in 2019 with Frozen Bone. Written directly by Nagatsuki Tappei, the story came as a Blu-ray bonus with the first seasons of ReZero. This anime is a prequel that explores Emilia's past before she meets Subaru. While not part of the main story, Frozen Bone is important for fans because it gives deeper insight into Emilia's character and her bond with Puck. After a long wait for one of the most anticipated isekai sequels, ReZero finally returned with its second season in 2020. The release was unfortunately delayed due to the pandemic, but ReZero still managed to make it to air that year. Season 2 picks up directly from the ending of Season 1. Many fans call it the darkest and most complex arc yet, as Subaru faces the cycle of life and death in even more painful ways. The season also received praise for the deeper character development of both Subaru and Emilia. This was the season that truly shifted how fans, including myself, view ReZero, from just a unique isekai concept to a fully realized fantasy tragedy story. A big part of the success comes from White Fox adaptation, which again emphasizes extreme emotional expressions in a lot of scenes. Still in the fantasy world, White Fox released the Goblin Slayer sequel in the form of movie, titled Goblin's Crown. The film continues the story from the first season, adapting volume 5 of the original novel. Like season 1, the movie is dark, brutal and violent, and this time it also focuses on trauma and the recovery of a new character. Most viewers felt the film was cleaner and more polished than some of the filler episodes in season 1. The action, animation and cold snowy atmosphere were widely praised. Some criticized the pacing at the beginning as it spent around 20 minutes recapping season 1, but many saw this as useful for viewers who hadn't watched the series before. Overall, the film was considered more cinematic than the TV episodes, with more intense action sequences and better cinematography. ReZero Season 2 was actually split into two parts. The first part, consisting of episodes 1 to 13, aired in 2020, while the second part followed 3 months later in 2021, covering episode 14 through 25. There's no official reason why Season 2 was released as a split core. It could have been a marketing strategy, a decision to improve animation quality, or simply necessity due to the pandemic. Regardless of the reason, the second core maintained high-quality animations and storytelling, cementing ReZero as one of the best isekai anime ever made. White Fox Studio, which previously created the opening animation for the game Utawarerumono Mask of Truth back in 2016, returned with its full anime adaptation in 2022. Mask of Truth continues the story from the previous series and serves as the final chapter of the Utawarerumono trilogy, focusing on the epic wars and the resolutions of the fates of all main characters throughout the trilogy. The anime spans 28 episodes and has been praised for its faithfulness to the original game. Almost every significant scene from the visual novel was brought to the screen, featuring beautiful visuals. Fans regard the anime as worthy emotional conclusions to the trilogy. Its ending is deeply touching, providing a proper farewell to the characters who have been accompanied audiences since the first anime in 2006 or even the game back in 2002. After successfully completing the Utawarerumono trilogy, 2023 marked the first year White Fox Studio did not release anything. While they may have been involved in collaborations or assisting other studios, there were no main releases under the White Fox name itself. Goblin Slayer Season 2 actually did release this year, but unlike previous projects handled by White Fox Studio, this time it was produced by Linden Films. In 2024, White Fox released a new anime adapted from the manga by Mizukami Satoshi, Sengoku Yoko. The story follows Tama, a kind-hearted fox spirit, and her brother Jinka, a half-human, half-monster who despise humans, as they travel alongside an ordinary young man named Shinsuke. Together, they battle monster and evil humans while seeking answer about the meaning of humanity and how to change the world filled with hatred. In terms of popularity and critical response, Sengoku Yoko didn't reach the height of other anime at that time, but it still carved out a unique niche among fans. While it didn't break into the mainstream, many viewers appreciated its distinctive storytelling and world building. But 2024 is the year of ReZero Season 3 finally aired, continuing to uphold its reputation as one of White Fox's finest works. This season came on a larger scale than its predecessors. Many viewers enjoyed how the story wove together conflict, tensions between protagonists and antagonists, and gave more spotlight to supporting characters. The animation was widely praised, particularly in actions and battle scenes. Like Season 2, ReZero Season 3 was split into two parts. The first 8 episodes aired in 2024, with the remaining episodes scheduled for 2025. Apart from ReZero, White Fox also adapted a light novel with an isekai and power fantasy theme titled Ugly Mug Epic Fighter. The story follows Shigeru Yoshioka, a 34-year-old man whose life has fallen apart due to the false accusations, leading him to withdraw from society. One day, he is transported to another world with an RPG-like system. There, in his quest for absolute power, he sacrifices his appearance, becoming extremely unattractive, yet gaining immense strength. The anime is quite absurd in its choice of theme, blending serious action with satire comedy that sometimes feel illogical. One of the most striking aspects is the design of the main character, which differs from the typical cool protagonist seen in most anime. Instead of being handsome or charismatic, the protagonist is intentionally designed to look strange, even making some viewers feel uncomfortable. However, beneath this unusual appearance, the design becomes part of the anime's appeal, deliberately challenging audience expectations and offering a different experience from other series in the same genre. At first glance, White Fox Studio might not always come up in the conversations about the greatest anime studios of all time. But when you take a step back and look at their track records, it's clear they have a unique space in the industry. From the iconic titles like Steins to emotional journeys like ReZero, White Fox has shown time to time again that they can deliver stories that stay with people long after the credits roll. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the future.